I had forgotten to mention some games during my first part that I recorded because I had to go away for a bit, so I completely forgot about it. But The Elder Scrolls Oblivion was one of the best 360 games that I ever played. It was just like this massive world that was entirely new to me. I had I had heard of the Elder Scrolls before then, but I've never really like given it a real chance. This was my first time ever playing it, and I just like remember thinking, like this is fucking insane. Like I can't believe that this kind of thing exists, and with the graphics back then, like man, it was just like an endless possibility of exploration and just you could sink hours into this world and just like never ever get bored. But I had to take breaks. Even back then, I had to take breaks. Like, I would take breaks for like maybe an hour or two, then go back in the game for a few hours, take a break, and stuff like that. Um, but the one thing that I hated about Oblivion back then is that you would always come across the vampirism, and I felt like that always ruined the game for me because back then I had no idea what to do about it, but now I do, since I have it on PC and I can just use a console cheat to spawn the antidote for it. So, uh, but yeah, the Elder Scrolls Oblivion was fucking awesome. Um, when I had first heard of it, like on a demo disc, like I had no idea what I was getting into, and I just thought it was like one of the most nerdiest things that I ever seen. But I didn't give it a real chance until I played it. I think I had gotten the game from GameStop as well. I don't think I ever rented it. I just decided, one day after seeing it on a demo disc, I was like, man, I gotta get this game. This game looks fucking badass. So I got that, and like it was one of the best purchases I ever made. And another game that I fucking loved was The Darkness. That game was fucking sick, especially the intro where you're like getting chased by the police, and you have like this whole Godfather kind of theme feeling going on, this vibe. It was just really awesome. One of the best first person shooters on 360 and PS3. Unfortunately, it never made its way to PC. Also, another game is Condemned Criminal Origins. That will always be one of my favorite 360 games. I have it on Steam. I play it every once in a while. Um, it's been a while since I played it, probably like a few years. Might get into it again pretty soon. Oh, shit, what else? Oh yeah, I really liked some racing games on 360. Uh import uh Import Tuner Challenge was fucking awesome. It's like one of those underrated underground games that actually released on a console, but like not many people really gave it a chance, I feel like. It was more about like street racing in Japan, but it had an open world in it, and it was just like ahead of its time. I feel like, and like I remember I used to just drive in that game like around Japan, and just thinking like, man, this world is so fucking detailed, and like the whoever made this game just like really had a passion for cityscapes and street racing in general. It was just really awesome. And Forza Motorsport 2 is also pretty sick. It's I think because of that game, Forza Motorsport 2, I found out about the Crystal Method. Like, cause without that game, I would have never found out who who that band group was. I know a lot of people say, they first heard Busy Child on FIFA 98, and there was a movie. Should I forget which movie? I just heard it. Oh yeah, Gone in 60 Seconds. That's it. Uh, so Gone in 60 Seconds and FIFA 98 were like the main sources for Busy Child to be played, and that's like where most people heard of it. But for me, it was 2006, 2007, something like that, where I first heard Busy Child on Forza Motorsport 2, and I instantly fell in love with that track. And for the longest time, I couldn't find the song because Forza at the time didn't display the track names, probably for copyright reasons. Um, but yeah, then one day I heard it on the radio while I was in the car, and then I just like I like hoped to God that the track name would be displayed on the radio screen, and it did. It said the Crystal Method, Busy Child. I was like, thank fucking God, I know this song name now, because I've been trying to find it forever. Because back then there wasn't any like app or anything like that to discover a song like there is now with Shazam or whatever. But yeah, that Forza Motorsport 2 will always be my probably one of my favorites just because of that. Um, and I think that's like one of the games that really really got me into sim racing, like the beginning stages of it. Um, but yeah, I forgot to mention in the first video that I made, Need for Speed Underground. That game came out in what, 2003, I think. Yeah, 2003. And that game was just like, it blew everybody's mind. Everybody at school was talking about it. That loved racing games. I was constantly being asked like for tips and shit. And I even had a friend come over to my place, and we played that game together. And he was like, "Man, this game is so fucking sick." So he went out and bought it himself for PlayStation 2, but I had the Xbox version, but the PS2 version just like kind of sucked with like how the highlights on the car kind of like reflect and shit, like from like buildings and lights. And whenever you get like the level 2 and level 3 rear lights, like you'd see all the chrome and stuff in them. And yeah, like the reflection time on PS2 was like really really slow. It was like a really noticeable difference for me back then. And it was like the same thing with Underground 2. Like the reflections going by on the car itself was like really really slow compared to Xbox. But But yeah, it was still underground too, so like it was cool. So whatever. But yeah, Underground 1 was like the best because that's where everybody had just like came together and just, it was just a really good experience for me because everybody loved that game and I was talking about it with multiple people and stuff. And yeah. Um what else? I talked about Call of Duty Big Red 1 already, I think. Uh um there was this shooter game on 360 called Battlefield Modern Combat, and I think some ordinary gamers covered this a while back, but I felt like it was a hidden gem when I discovered it, which was like back in 2007 or something, 2006, somewhere around there. And I had gotten the 360 version and played that for a while, but then I sold it after a bit. But yeah, that game was sick. It was like a multiplayer experience, but it was like PvE, and basically you had to do missions on like an open map, open world type of map, and you just had like multiple objectives. Like it was just really fucking cool. And but yeah, um, I think I played some Need for Speeds on 360, but I didn't like it. Just didn't hit the same as like Underground and Underground 2. I think Need for Speed just like kind of died for me personally after Underground 2 because back then I wasn't like really into drifting. I was more into just like seeing how fast the car could go, and that's it. Like how well it handled and how good I could make turns and stuff like that. And I was like really into like getting the best time on laps. So I was more of like an actual person who was into, excuse me. I was more of a person who was like into actually like racing as opposed to like drifting where I that's where I am now in terms of like sim racing. I care more about drifting now than actually like being good at actual racing. Um but yeah. Even though Need for Speed is very, very arcadey, it's still it was really awesome. It provided like Need for Speed Underground provided like a theater experience in my opinion. Um and I'm just having trouble thinking about games, but I guess like Grand Theft Auto 4 was also really awesome on 360. Uh the story was great. The characters were awesome. Um the car driving was really cool in my opinion. I know most people say they hate it and they say that it's bad, but that's just because those people fucking suck at driving in video games in general. Uh like that's just the truth. Um I think I want to say Skyrim, but that came out in like 2011. So that was like way past the time that I'm talking about, but that was still a good game. Skyrim was still a good game, but it like it just became more of a modding scene rather than an actual game. Trying to think like what I wasn't like really one to buy too many games at once. Um, I played Black on PS2. That's like basically a uh, a shooter game where the majority of the focus was on the actual guns themselves. But I think I played both versions. I think I played the 360 and the PS2 version. But yeah, um, I had played Medal of Honor Airborne. That was fucking awesome. One of the best 360 games in my opinion. But then I had gotten it on PC after I sold the 360, so I feel like Call of Duty 4 was the least enjoyable game that I had, just because my focus on the game wasn't multiplayer; it was just the campaign. Because I wasn't like really somebody who cared about that. Like I got into multiplayer when Battlefield Bad Company 2 came out, and my multiplayer experience only lasted for like a few years. I think I quit just like playing multiplayer games after a few years of Counter Strike Global Offensive. I think I stopped like around, I don't know, like 2015 or something like that. Like occasionally I'll go back to it. Sometimes I play PUBG with a friend, but like that's about it. And we don't really care if like we suck at the game. We just want to play and have fun, and that's it. Uh, but yeah, that's right now. That's my only multiplayer experience. Like in terms of where you actually fight other players. Otherwise, it's just like co-op or single player. That's it. Um, but yeah, I've been more of a single player gamer as I've gotten older. Like that's kind of what I always been. I think a single player kind of guy. I would prefer that over multiplayer, just because I could get like lost in a world and just like it'd be better than dealing with people. Uh, like not having the kind of girl that I wanted in real life when I was a teenager, and just like it always like made me think about like the good times that I had with other people and stuff. And like I'll give an example. Back when I was let's see, probably shit, I don't know, probably 13 or 14 years old. Papa Roach had just come out with the Infest CD album, and I was listening to that uh, Last Resort song like over and over constantly, because that track was fucking awesome back then. And I was playing some type of Wario game on Game Boy, probably I think Color, I think Game Boy Color, I think. And I was just like listening to Last Resort by Papa Roach while playing that, and I just had like a blast thinking like of some memories and stuff. Like, because that's for me, that's what gaming had become. Like, a time to pass, a place to escape, and like a premium experience that I couldn't get anywhere else. Uh, and also a bit of socializing, if the circumstances are right, or like if I like the game and other people like the game, and we could have like something to talk about and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I don't think gaming in terms of that will ever be the same because, like I said before, everything is just like so accessible. And like, sure, there's YouTube, there's like YouTubers who like enjoy offering help to strangers online, tutorials and stuff like that. But it's just not the same, man. It's just like you don't get any of that like social interaction, or like gratification or anything. You just look something online and you don't even think about it. Like it's just it really means nothing. Like you don't even have to thank the person, or it's not even like seen as something frowned upon to not thank the person for sharing the tip or whatever. You just watch a video and you get your answer or whatever that you were wondering about, and then you close the tab and you go on about your gaming, and that's it. Or you Google something and you read about it, and get the answer that way. And if you have to make an account, like you don't even bother on some random website. But yeah, like completely eliminates the social interaction aspect. But yeah, anyways, I think that's going to be it for uh, part two. So yeah.